everyone. This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our returning guest this week, it's everyone's favourite golden kitten, ThunderPsyker.
Hello. Second time this year. That has been interesting.
I know, more consistent schedule than Kirillov, at least today.
And to be fair, you timed it perfectly considering you just dropped the last recent retrospective.
That I did, although it's the last of the stuff that was planned, but of course we're now in a bit of a weird sort of dead end point with that, where Dawn of War 3 has happened, as much as people make the joke of, what are you talking about? There never has been. Boy, I wish. But it's been a toss-up between doing that or doing like a showcase of the mods that people have made. That's something I promised back in Soulstorm back in 2016. So I've actually left the community up to decide which of those they want to see first. And from the results, which are going to probably close around the end of this month, mods are winning by
that
not
doesn't
a landslide.
surprise me at all.
Yeah, by quite a margin, which I can't say I blame them, because things like Ultimate Apocalypse, Unification, and a bunch of other stuff like this, all of the big, like, scaling up, adding new race things, like those things have like really popularized those games for all those years onwards. So I can see why people want that, but I kind of want those to be more of a history. I want to try and find the earliest recorded mod I can for those games and kind of find the lineage, because people jump in with Ultimate Apocalypse like immediately, but there's loads of other things that came before it that informed how that came to be. That's kind of what I want to do with that.
Yeah, you can't start with the big monster mod that ended it all, because, you've got to start with what actually started. You can't, your first mod is not Ultimate Apocalypse Chaos mod. It never is.
No, exactly. Like all projects start like that. I mean, it's a bit of an odd comparison, but XCOM 2, that launched with modding tools, and the big mod for XCOM is something called the Long War. It's one of those, again, like a huge overhaul, makes the game more complicated, adds loads of layers, but the makers of XCOM liked that so much that they actually gave the Long War guy time ahead of the game to make it. Like, they gave them the modding tools way ahead of time. Not the first thing to come out. Not by a long shot. I think the first mods to ever come out for that game was the Corgi gun.
That doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah. Which is, but those tools are really robust. I did my own. I added the Dawn of War Guardsman voices, and I still need to fucking update it so people can play it on the most recent patch. But, yeah, no, sorry, that was a massive Dawn of War tangent. I want to ask you both how you're getting along.
Not too bad. It's nearly the Christmas holidays, and don't the pupils know it?
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Just trying to run around, sort out presents, try and catch up with people, make sure they actually get things. It's been a lot, and I want to promise more things to the subscribers I have at the moment, because I'm wanting to have some things out for December for them to enjoy, but. I guess in the meantime, Retribution is a retrospective. That's already the big one. But beyond that, yeah, there's more to come.
Good.
Fair enough.
Excellent.
So, in the news this week, I think the biggest one that came out was the Black Library preview.
Okay,
yes.
up to more.
Say again, sorry?
I was just going to say, they're up to more stuff.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Not just in lore, but also in miniatures.
That is interesting. All right, I have to give this a proper look.
Yeah, so where do you want to start, Rem? Do you want to go books first, or do you want to go model first?
Let's do model first, because it also ties into a book as well, doesn't it? So
it does indeed. So, Mike Brooks's Brutal Cunning and that extra set of books. The war boss from there is a Blackhawk, and Blackhawk now has a model, complete with ultimate smash hammer, and massive custom mega guns so big I need a squig kickstand. So it's a very, very nice model. So yes, I approve
and
of
if you knock
that.
it over, it'll be Black Hawk down.
Fuck you. But yes, it's a great mini. I love it. I think you could definitely proxy it as a war boss with a custom shooter and big chopper. But there isn't really like a Thunder Hammer equivalent. You might want to treat it more like a Power Claw, I suppose, in terms of its rules. But there's no way to give a war boss a custom Mega Blaster. If anything, as much as it's a war boss, it more suits the rules of a big mech, custom Mega Blaster and again, power claw type thing in terms of rules.
Could you not count as a big chopper kind of thing?
You count as a big chopper, but I treat it more as a thunder hammer, and thunder hammers usually play more by the power fist rules.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear why that isn't the case, because the orcs have always been the most creative and versatile with all their weaponry. So, I'm surprised to hear there's not really a heavy-hitting, blunt sort of option for the war boss. But I guess, as you say, you can kind of wing it if there's already the numbers for the power claw or something like that.
Yeah, and he is getting Legends rules, so while it won't be legal in comp, you could still run him as is, as Blackhawk, in any game that isn't sanctioned tournament play, because it's Legends rules. So realistically, for 99% of players, you can still use him.
Oh, that makes sense to me. I do really like the way that his blaster looks as well, though. That's a really nice little bit of kit. No, for certain. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling down a bit. I'm seeing brutally cunning here. Brutal cunning. My mistake. That is looking interesting. Is there a little bit more we know about that, or?
So that book's already out. It's just that this limited edition version of it is being released, and my eyes, the goggles, do nothing.
Yes, it's all tying up as part of a sequel. Actually, the next full-length novel, Brutal Cunning sequel, Da Big Daka, which is actually going into the Drukhari fighting pits.
Okay, that's an interesting setting. I do like a little bit of that from the Dark Eldar, so that sounds fun.
So I think that's a good place to take it, because we know that the Drukhari will capture Xenos and humans and throw them into the pits and the gladiatorial arenas for sport. And orcs are
Yep.
Yeah, and orcs are a pretty prized catch because they don't die very easily and they always want to fight. So it will be interesting to see how that fits. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll pick it up because I haven't read Brutal Cunning. I don't know if I'll need to, but it is a good place to take an orc novel is into. Plus, also, how often do you get to go to Comorra? Extremely rarely.
Yeah, it's a walled garden, as it were, a garden of misery.
Indeed.
I just hope this version has a bit more focus on the orcs, because one of my issues I had with Brutal Cunning is it was advertised as an orc novel, and it was it wasn't really, because it was a third of it was orcs, a third of it was Admech, and a third of it was Iron Warriors. So,
I don't see any problems here. Surely that's all orcs in some way. You can't tell what's under the helms, right?
Right, yeah. But I have to say, the whole preview, obviously we've talked about Black Hawk and all of that, but there's actually a load of really interesting books on the way, including a Moren V novel. That's the Abbess Sanctorum who walks around in her own custom Paragon warsuit, if you'd forgotten.
It is indeed, and I'm just wondering, why the fuck aren't you doing your job on Terra? You're one of the High Lords, for fuck's sake.
So they're taking a extended work vacation, I suppose.
Well, to be fair, she's off to a cardinal world to try and protect a cardinal world from the death of saints.
That sounds like a pretty big deal.
I have to say, I do love how the limited edition looks, with all the additional tarot cards and all that. That looks very, very swanky.
Yes, no, those are very nice. If anything, I'd be a little bit afraid to buy this for myself because of the stigma with tarot cards. You're supposed to have someone gift them to you.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that's.
Well, fun. Think of it this way: it's Games Workshop gifting you it after you purchase it.
Yes,
that's a way to put it.
That's your workaround.
If it's a little bonus and everything. Plus, also the Imperial Tarot kind of works under different rules, right? I mean,
extremely.
Exactly.
I wouldn't say that anything that Jack Draco did with his Imperial Tarot was anything out of the norm. I don't think that would have been sanctioned by anything. I'm still latching onto Inquisitor. I know it's one of the oldest 40k books that exists, but it left
Just
a mark.
let it die. Let it die.
Just remember, though, Jack Draco got a name drop in the last Cal Jericho novel. So.
Hold on. All right.
Drop it.
All right.
Please.
Drop it like the exterminatus on that poor planet. Anyway,
We'll drop it like it's hot. Drop
Like
it
it's hot.
Art of Black Library, that's another one.
Yes.
Art of Horus Heresy.
Yes, the Art of the Horus Heresy is 200 pages of full-colour cover illustrations with lots of commentary and reflections on the series as a whole. So, yeah.
Hang on. This is just Visions of Heresy again. This is like a third fucking version.
Bear in mind, there's a lot more books come out since then.
Yeah, but Visions of Heresy, like the second iteration of Visions of Heresy came out just before the Siege of Terror novel series started.
Yeah, I know.
Like, do we really need a third iteration of that book?
oh,
Maybe. Don't know.
I guess if people like this variation of the art, I mean, I'm just looking at one of the images in particular is very reminiscent of a piece of 40k art I've seen before, and I'm wondering if it's a redo or a reimagining of the same scene. It's one of these ones. Trying to tell which legion this is. The
Sons of Horus, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, it is. You can see the Eye of Horus on the left-hand page.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. It's the it was on the tip of my tongue. I mean, to be fair, they've gone through like 3 rebrandings until they became the Black Legion, so you know.
Yeah.
But still, that's interesting though. I suppose for people who haven't gotten the other 2, they've got a way to get it. But I can't see why they just wouldn't keep the other ones in print.
Oh well.
I don't know. But to go with your brand new Horus Heresy art book, you could also get the Siege of Terror bookmark.
Oh wow, a bookmark.
With the golden throne on it.
Well, I'm sold.
Oish.
In fairness, someone is going to buy it just purely for the fact it's got the golden throne on it.
Yeah. I know.
It's a pretty bookmark. I'll give it that.
I mean, even if you just want to use it for like a diorama piece or something as background imagery, you know, you could use it that way. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I suppose when it's the Black Library, right, there's only so much you can do in terms of expanding out your merch line while keeping it library themed, I suppose. But, I mean, if this model's supposed to be going alongside it, then who knows? They could be doing a bit more in the future.
Who knows? Going to Age of Sigmar briefly, we got a new Caradron novel, The Ghosts of Barak Minoz.
This is Drekkie Flint
novel.
So yes, both Drekkie Flint and a bit later down, Kaido Ezekiar, the Caradron and the vampire heroes that were released in miniature a while ago, are both getting a sequel novel. I have to admit, I didn't really get into Ezekiar at all when I read his one. I never finished it. I haven't read any of the Caradron stuff, but yeah, they're there, and if you liked them, I'm sure you'll like the next one. It's just not to my taste, and I don't know why, because I've seen a lot of Caradron knocking around in AOS novels I've read, like God Eater's Son. They show up in a Gotrek novel. I don't know, I just find the Caradron's whole mercantile shtick quite annoying. It's like, oh yes, but if you remember subclause 32B on paragraph 4, it's like, yeah, go away. This is annoying.
So basically, they're just Age of Sigmar version of Ferengi.
I got it. To be fair, there is something endearing you can do with the idea of having like a very bureaucratic sort of a fantasy race. Which, I mean, the Ferengi is a pretty good example that you've mentioned. But
rules of acquisition and all that.
I can imagine it gets a bit grating. It's one of those things that really require like a good sense of humor behind that sort of writing to keep it endearing, you know. Otherwise, it can get a bit stale because I feel like I deal with enough of that in my day-to-day sometimes.
Yeah, and especially because they always seem to. The bit seems to be, you must help us in this desperate battle or we're all going to die. How much is it going to cost? Yeah, it's the same bit every time.
Yeah,
and it's quite. I'm sure when they're the main character, I'm sure it can be kind of interesting because you've got the whole oaths versus the quest for ether gold versus everything. But when they are around characters, they are always a annoyance. They are always an annoyance.
I mean, that's kind of the thing is there's a lot of fiction where they might have characters who are pirates or mercenaries and that kind of thing, and they're entirely driven by those kind of selfish, like, cool, what's in it for me? How much are you paying? But there's a lot of times where, for the sake of the narrative, they can kind of drop that and go, all right, they'll parlay and they'll ask for that sort of bargain later. If anything, they'll have more leverage once they've completed it. So I can see it a bit.
Or they learn the power of friendship, like Han Solo did.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Han Solo's probably he's not the first, but he's the most distinct kind of OG of it, right? 1977.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, no, that's a good point. It's a shame it doesn't really click with you, but it's not always everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, and it is just me.
But I know what will click with you, though, Neve. A new Ahriman novel.
Yeah, Ahriman 5. I'm going to say something. I said this at the time. Ahriman Eternal, the fourth one with all the Necron shit, it felt like filler to get Ahriman from point A to point B and set up the big bad. So I'm hoping that this will finish it, because where it left off is like they got caught in a soul-ripping, time-loopy thingy, and they got a thing out of it. But it really felt super vague as to why they were doing it. And it wasn't, maybe I was reading it too fast, but it wasn't very well set up or explained as to why Ahriman was doing what he was doing. There's the overarching goal with Ahriman, which is, restore his legion, undo his mistake. And now they've got this horizon, this fire on the horizon, this firestorm that was coming for their souls, which has killed several of them before. And they set up Helio Isidorius starting to get his brain back just a little bit and getting all that working. That's the Marine he de-rubricked, just in case you didn't know the name. But the whole book didn't really go as far or as detailed I thought as it would, or I just missed it because I was reading too fast. This one I'm hoping really sets it up, because it says now, all has unfolded on this stage as the cycle demands. The ignorant players take their steps and speak their parts as they must. Because there's a whole Harlequin subplot in the background where Harlequins have shown up a couple of times or prophesized around Ahriman without any information of him finding out about it. And so I'm hoping it'll set it all up and pay it all off. I think it's now time to pay it off, because I was quite happy with it.
Yeah.
After there was Exile, Sorcerer, and not Undying. Unchained. I was quite happy to leave it there because he'd had his run-in with Magnus. He'd started to cure the rubric. It's a great place to leave it. But then he went back to it, so now he needs to wrap this plot arc up as well.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be pointless. But speaking of pointless, Lazarus is getting a novel of all people.
Yes, indeed. The first Primaris to enter the inner circle. He's got his first novel called Enmity's... I swear it's Enmity, not Enmity.
Enmity, yeah.
I thought it was Enmity.
It's spelt Enmity, which...
I thought it was spelled Emnity.
No, it's Enmity.
Honestly, I've done that before with words like the word tragedy. Even on the cuff, I always spell it like now I've forgotten it. I can't Tragedy. That's how it's spelled. I spell it trade G, and it doesn't make any sense, and I just always do that by instinct. But it's just one of those words.
But yes, we've got a night world. Azrael's around, but the knights apparently are long gone, so it'll be interesting to see how it all fits. And the Dark Angels will know what it truly means to be defined by their oaths. Oh, it's the same Dark Angels plotline it always is. There's a fallen.
I'll be honest, I thought we grew past this with the return of Lionel Johnson and the whole concept of the Risen. I thought we evolved past this, but apparently not.
Well, I'm guessing it's going to be the same plot thread it always is, which is, oh God, there's a fallen. Do we go after the fallen or do what we've been told that we have to do? What is our mission? And what must we do? Whose oaths do we uphold? It's like, Jesus Christ.
I think the only story I can recall off the top of my head that actually did something interesting with that entire premise was War of Secrets, which I know is not... I know a lot of people don't like that book, but at least did something interesting. It's like, hey, there's a fallen on a home world of our successor chapter. We can't go in guns blazing because our successor chapter will be like, hang on, that's not on. So, hey, Tau, how about you do this and we'll go take care of your problem. Deal? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
But speaking of fallen, as in like fallen to chaos, there's an Emperor's Children novel coming out called Lord of Excess.
Yes. Yes, it's a Renegades novel. You've got a hedonistic warlord who has a chance to prove himself as a true son of Fulgrim. So the idea of, conquering a world with rejuvenate treatments, cut off for the Imperium, and, it's going to be interesting to see because the Emperor's children are such perfectionists, and yet this is chaos after all, and there are cracks in the mask and all the dark stuff that hides just beneath the surface with the Emperor's children. I think that could be an interesting novel.
Yes, and sticking with Emperor's Children briefly, Eidolon's getting a novel as well as part of the Horus Heresy character series.
Which I'm not complaining about. It's called the Auric Hammer. He is on a world haunted by the ghosts of his past, whilst a warp-spawned entity coaxes him to its clutches. With whispered truths, he must decide what kind of life he wants to lead and what of his soul he wishes to sacrifice for perfection. So, again, good place to take an Emperor's children.
Yep. And another novel that's getting a re-release is Infinite and Divine with a fancy new special edition.
Best book for comedy I have read in years.
Oh, I know some people who will who are big fans of Necrons and will try to get people to read Infinite and Divine constantly. Like it's a book that's been incredibly highly recommended just because of the way that it sort of embodies and captures how the Necrons are, and it's something that just has a lot of praise.
All I know about it is that apparently the edging artwork is apparently very accurate to the plot. If you know what I mean.
Oh my! All right. I mean, I love the cover on this new one.
Ram.
I've been told the book is essentially a gay love story.
Not the term I would use, personally.
It's basically like Moonlighting, but with two gay robots instead of Bruce Willis and the other, what's her name?
Having read it, I disagree, personally.
Fair enough. You're the one who's read it. I've just heard stories about it. So
I get what I said.
I'll trust your judgment.
There is the whole frenemies thing about Orican and Trazin. I will not dispute that. And there is a lot of witty banter and all this, but would I call it Robot Necron romance? No, absolutely not. What it is hilarious.
More Sandrek and Oberon, isn't it?
Yeah, what it is hilarious and well worth a read. I hope it gets a sequel.
Oh,
Fair enough.
I'd be very surprised if it didn't, given just how many books are released for the 40k setting, because Black Library just keep on going at it, and I'm kind of surprised to hear there hasn't been one sooner.
Well, Robert Rath is a very busy man.
Fair enough.
And last on the list is, as Neve mentioned earlier, the new Kato Ezekiah novel, Dead Kingdom. And also a limited edition re-release of The Hollow King as well, which, I'll be honest, the cover for Hollow King looks very nice.
Problem is, what's inside the book is fucking boring. Sorry, I don't like I'm not having a go at you, John French. I'm not, but my God, this book was boring. I couldn't finish it. And
was it better or worse than Damnos?
I read Fall of Damnos, not actual Damnos.
Yeah, Fall of Damnos was the first part of the Damnos book collected together.
Yeah, but the second part's generally regarded as the shit bit.
I thought the first part was the shit bit, personally, but...
Well, it doesn't have the bit with, like, suplexing a fucking pylon or anything like that, so...
No, it was just very, 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 very boring.
Yeah, so I think the problem with Hollow King is the whole idea is you've got a vampire haunted by spirits and things like that who is wandering around the realm of death, and a chaos cult tries to assassinate him, and he has to go all vampire detective mode in a city at the arse end of nowhere where literally no one ever goes and no one ever leaves. And it's just like, do I actually want to sit through a boring vampire protagonist alongside a predictably Zinchian chaos cult doing absolutely nothing of interest and giving absolutely nothing away? I got a third of the way through. I was like, nah, I'm just going to read something else.
Oh, question. Because I know you've been reading some of the Warhammer Crime stuff. Is Warhammer Crime exclusively 40k related? Because I know
Yes.
with Warhammer Horror, you get both AOS and 40k. It is, okay.
Warhammer Crime
There's
is
four-
set on Varangantua.
Right. Missed opportunity, because when you brought up Vampire Detective, imagine an Age of Sigmar Warhammer crime novel with a Vampire Detective. That'd be awesome.
I concur with that. Even just the very concept of it, I feel like there's a lot you could do with that idea. But so it goes, you know.
Come on, Games Workshop, get on it. Vampire Detective novel. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, listen, if you want to go with that noir style, it's not like they're going to be out during the day much anyway, are they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very true.
Actually, I want to verify this with you, because more recently, I do a couple podcasts of my own, and we recently did one on Total War Warhammer where we were talking about the vampire counts. And I think there's quite a few times in that game where you can play during the daylight while playing as the vampire counts. I'm very curious if they're lenient in the Warhammer setting about whether or not vampires can survive in sunlight, or if that's something that's supposed to be a straight up no.
From what I remember from 5th edition, it was something more along the lines of they're not like it doesn't like turn to dust like with Nosferatu. It just weakens them, like weakens their power, like they're stronger at night. I think there is one vampire bloodline that is straight up harmed by sunlight, but I think things like the Lamians, for example, I think they can operate in daylight. They just can't use their powers.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll just do a quick...
I might be misremembering those. So
Yeah.
by vampire lore.
because I know there was a short story in an issue of White Dwarf when the 5th edition vampire count what army book came out. It was a story where a necromancer attacked a necroarch vampire in the middle of the day, and it's like, my powers are weakened, but I've still got physical strength. Snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm going back to bed.
Okay. I mean, if you've got anything else on that as well, Neve.
I'm just digging through Lexicardum, if I'm completely honest.
Oh, fair. No, I think...
Yeah, it does nothing. There's no statement that I can find at a very quick glance, and I mean quick, about whether there is a thing around their abilities or what they can and can't do at day or night.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have a look, and if I find something, I'll let you know.
All right, sweet. Yeah, no, that's just. I just remember that being something that was brought up when we did. Because it was a friend of mine, Ash, and I. We play games together, and we kind of talk about it on a podcast of our own called The List Goes On. And we recently had our episode on Total War Warhammer 3, which is that one was great. We had really good energy during it. She is not a Warhammer fan at all. But she really, really enjoyed her time with the game, and I think the flavour of the vampire counts really helped with that. She was very enamoured by the corruption of the old world, as it were. So that was always fun. It's a shame to hear, though, that the more recent stuff from Age of Sigmar, in terms of the novels, isn't quite living up to the high standards.
Oh, no. You misunderstand me. I don't like that book.
All right. Okay.
Like I read God Eater's Son, which is the sort of it's one of the more recent novels, and that was amazing. Like you might remember how much I gushed over that book when we actually read it. Children of Teclis and the Lumineth novels have been brilliant. I loved Children of Teclis. Let me just go back through my library and actually just check what else I've read of late. Blightslayer, all the Gotrek stuff, that's still good. The Vulture Lord with the Ossiarch novel, that was good. I think it was just that book didn't hit. And you sometimes do get that. You get the odd book that just doesn't hit. And that, for me, was the book that didn't hit.
Yeah, that's understandable. It can't always be bangers all the time, as much as we'd like it to be. Yeah. Again, there's a wealth of fiction for pretty much every side of Warhammer, Old World, Sigmar, Rule 40k, and listen, there's
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say some even the same writer can produce some of the best work and possibly some of the worst, depending on how your tastes are.
That's Remleiz with Guy Haley.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I wasn't too big on much of Guy Haley's recent works. Aside from Genefall, that was actually good, but like I wasn't a fan of Avenging Sun. I wasn't a fan of the Asterath novel. I wasn't a fan of the Kurz novel. It was like it just seemed like he was pumping out quantity rather than quality. But and the reason I drag him so hard is because I know he can do better. Because like he pumped out things like Dante, which was fantastic.
Devastation of Baal.
Yeah, the Perturabo novel. All of those were great. So like I'm only hard on him because I know he can do better.
Yeah, but sorry, I've just been reminded because you just brought up Old World, and there has been a leak of the Old World box game. I don't know if either of you have seen it.
Oh, I've not seen that, but I tell you what, I have seen a leak for an Old World tie-in novel, along with a bunch of pages being leaked as well, because it was released on a French book site.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. That is.
It was like Lords of the Lance, a Bretonnian novel.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned that. I'd seen that. So I've just sent you a Twitter link to the one that I got notified about.
I'm just gonna have this a quick look. Oh, okay. That. Oh, I very much love that they have kept with the look. That it's not. It looks not only like the Old World in terms of how its style originally was. Something about this box feels like it came from 20, 30 years ago. And I kind of adore that. Like that's a compliment. That's not to rag on it at all. That's fun. These are Tomb Kings, right?
Yeah, they are a bunch of old Tomb Kings propped up with the new Necrolith dragon from the recent event. So the only thing that's worth noting, as much as this may or may not be true, is don't be surprised if 90% of the range is not being redone. Like the old Skeleton Cav and Skeleton Warriors are not apparently being redone. This is a leak. It is not a guarantee, but I do want to just point out that you don't have to buy the new stuff to play the game because they're not redoing everything.
True. Neve, you speak French.
Oui,
Is
je parle
Janvier January?
Janvier, c'est January, yes.
Right, because that's when the Lords of the Lance novel's coming out, apparently,
Yeah,
according to this French website.
Janvier, février, mars, avril, mai, juin, juillet, août, septembre, octobre, novembre, décembre.
I only knew like 3 of those.
All I really know is Papa Nicole. Deep cut for anyone who remembers that advert.
I was expecting to go oui, oui, ho, ho, baguette. So, I'll take that as an improvement.
Oh, that reminds me. It annoys me so much when I keep hearing people saying omelette du fromage. It shouldn't be omelette au fromage.
That's not what.
The prefix a or o or a la is usually to something, whereas de la, du is usually of something.
So omelette of cheese.
Yeah, rather than omelette to cheese.
That's okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, don't worry. Sorry. I'm not going to start a French class on you. Don't worry, folks.
No, that's understandable. I barely remember much French just because my school made the mistake of having us learn French for 2 years, then learn German alongside it afterwards, but then with the same stuff. So just all the stuff I learned in French just got overwritten by German. And then by the time I actually, got through GCSEs and left, I'd forgotten it all.
Yeah, the only reason that I can speak French is because literally I went and bloody well lived there for a year.
Oh, that'll do it, won't it?
Yeah, it's quite a nice flex. Fuck you, Remleiz. It is quite a nice flex when you teach and you just go, excusez-moi tout le monde, écoutez. And they're like, what the did you just say, miss? So it gets their attention immediately because they have absolutely no idea what you just said. They're like, what? What has this woman just said?
And then just immediately blowing minds by switching immediately back to Spanish, saying, porque yo soy el jefe.
I can't speak Spanish. I can speak French, I can speak English, and I can do a million different accents, which is quite funny when I teach electrolysis, but that's a separate conversation. I don't want to distract. We haven't got the time.
You just randomly switch accent constantly mid-sentence. Like, what language are you speaking? I don't know how these crazy accents. I have no idea. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I can swap between an English accent and an Irish accent, a Scottish accent. It's not that difficult. And then I try doing other things, and it actually doesn't really work. And then suddenly I actually realize, no, I'm just going to stop. So, yeah, I can do it.
I was expecting you to start doing Seamus impressions, start going banger after banger, or something like that. In my terrible accent.
Right, actually, there is one PSA. No, this is a completely out-of-date PSA because it will all be over by the time we say it. But there was a set of cut-off dates for guaranteed Christmas shipping for Warhammer. It will all be done by the time this video comes out. The last dates are the 18th of December in America and Sydney, to be exact. But the UK's cut-off is right now, actually. So just so you're aware that if you're trying to get stuff for Christmas, you've already missed your chance. Sorry, folks.
Noted.
But I tell you what we can get after Christmas. A Fafnir action figure. How about that?
Yes, there was a piece today all about all this. It's an amazing year for games and merch, and nobody look at Warhammer 3. But yeah, they talked about that. And they also confirmed that Weta Workshop, who made that Titus, are also working on Abaddon and Celestine.
Ooh.
So,
oh god, I'm worried about Celestine now. If it's all balancing on that very thin... Oh god, that's going to break me in shipping. Oh god, I'm scared of it now.
That is a...
Yeah. It'll probably look cool, but just don't take it out the box. It will snap.
Well, it depends how they do it.
Yeah, that's true. But if they're going to try and mimic the model in any way, it's going to be terrifying.
Could be worse. Could be a McFarlane action figure. Those things fall apart when they come out the box.
Oh god, yeah. They look like knockoffs.
Yeah.
Like, Terminator looks like a knockoff you get at B&M.
It kind of does.
But I'm expecting to be turning it around. It's going to be completely hollow in the back.
Listen, it would be... Okay, you know what? I'm going to give it some credit. It does look like it's better than half of the things you'd see in B&M. Although, admittedly, the half of it that's better than it is going to be like crisps and cans of soup. But no, sorry. I to avoid us going on a tangent, I don't want to go on a B&M tangent because you will be hearing a lot from me. I've been in there recently, and it's been a wake-up call on how much the world has changed.
I'll just say this in regards to B&M, to quote Thew from Toy Grind, it's a stench of super noodles and despair.
Damn right.
Right.
Damn right.
However, if you would rather do something even more sneaky than a B&M ripoff, that's a good segue. How about you check out the Alpha Legion, because they got themselves a saboteur.
Oh.
Aren't all members of the Alpha Legion saboteurs?
No, but like a special, console.
Right.
Can stroll into the ranks of their opponents without revealing themselves to create havoc or eliminate high-ranking targets. They've got a power dagger, bombs, and an Astarte shotgun.
Yeah, don't mind this guy wearing a hoplite helmet with a huge fucking cape. He's inconspicuous, clearly.
Well, that's one of the things that's most amusing to me about the Alpha Legion, just in concept, is that they are this very sneaky kind of infiltration faction, but at the end of the day, they're still 8 feet tall, and they are wearing power armor. Like, you can be quiet in it. A lot of chapters are able to do so, but it's rather fascinating, especially a shotgun as an infiltration tool. It's a great way to diversify the Space Marine kit because the bolter is so common. But shotguns and quiet is not something I tend to associate.
It hasn't even got a suppressor on it or anything. God.
No, but it might be that that's your last resort weapon. If you have to go loud, you go loud with something that fires at anything in a general direction.
You keep it handy for close encounters. Chick. Hey, any reference? Also, before anyone jumps in the comment section, yes, I know it's a chameleon cloak, so don't rag on me for that.
Yeah, and also, when we talk about infiltrate, we're usually at this stage in the timeline infiltrating other Space Marines, so it kind of does work. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, when it's other Space Marine chapters, that tends to make a lot more sense. That's the way that I kind of envision the Alpha Legion working in the kind of grander scheme of things. But it's sorry, I'm kind of like jumping around because I'm looking at the model. I really, really like this model, especially the hodgepodge of different sort of pieces of armor here and there. That's the kind of look I like on Chaos Marines. I want to see that more often.
That makes sense.
Is it just me, or is he wearing a Pip-Boy?
It's what it looks like. The little green watchy thing.
I guess he doesn't want to set the world on fire.
Hey!
Mind you, though, just on random tangent, the Fallout trailer for Amazon stuff looked actually really good. Just gonna say it and then move on.
Yeah, no, reasonable.
I think the word's cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. Yes, let's go with that.
That's a good way to be about with these adaptations, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, it'll probably just end up turning up like, the Halo TV series.
Oh, don't. That hurts. That hurts me. I'm a Halo fan. Like, listen, alright, I get,
John Halo.
I'm getting trailers for season 2 coming out on whenever I watch things on YouTube now, and it's just within those 5 seconds where you have to watch the advert, you just see Master Chief just pouting, like, with his helmet off, looking into the... He looks... Okay, he genuinely... It's almost a meta thing. It looks like he's looking at the audience like, I don't want to admit I did something wrong by being a bad show. Like,
don't look at me.
What? It's such a weird polarizing thing with adaptations, right? Because it feels like there's a 50-50 chance of them being really good, even if it's for one season, or kind of awful for the entire way through. Like I've watched about half of The Last of Us, and that's actually been all right. But Halo is no. But
more like, hey, no.
wait. Yeah, no. Paramount their stocks have dropped after you've said that. They're not recovering. Shut down the whole service, which wouldn't mind that. I want streaming services to go back to being like maybe 1 or 2. I'm tired of having to browse through 6 of them to see what I want.
Yeah, it's like digging through a hole. And speaking of digging holes,
Oh,
mining squat.
That's fucking horrendous. But yes, so there's a squat champion for Necromunda. He's got a mining laser. So, yes.
And a buzzsaw mechadendrite.
And that.
I love this guy so much. He just has such an attitude. He's like, say hello to my little friend.
It's a good model. It's a good model.
Listen, when
all the squats are.
They need to have that attitude, I think. I like that's something that's very endearing about their designs. I love the way that they just kind of they just rock it. Then I feel like it's a side of 40k that is so unabashedly just profound and out there, there's no...
It's having fun.
Yeah, it's not trying to readapt itself so much to try and be like more serious. It just goes, we're here, we're the squats. We're gonna do this this kind of pulpy science fiction aesthetic. What do you think of that? And they work. They really do. At least that's my take on them. I imagine a lot of people might disagree, but I'm fond of them. I like the way they look.
Yeah.
It works so much as well for Necromunda in general as well. Like, everything on that is just so wacky and out there. Everyone's just having fun on working on that range.
Yeah, mind you, it was a good year for miniatures, and you know this because the Miniature of the Year vote this year was bloody hard. Now, it will be
I
closed...
didn't see that. What?
So there's a Miniature of the Year vote for 2023 ongoing at the moment. It closes on Tuesday the 19th, so it will be over by the time this episode comes out. But they did just the 12 months model of the month that they've suggested, but you can vote for any model you like. But it goes... I've forgotten his ready name. Chaos Stormcast, Chaos Stormcast guy, Angron, Caradron Bookman, Lion, Seraphon, Screamer Killer, Farsight, Night Porphyrion, Rock Squig, Talia Vedra, Necron, and it's like, holy hell, the actual quality of miniatures this year was bonkers.
Yeah, no, these are all very good. From just a casual glance at these, it's very difficult to pick a favorite. I mean, the Tyranids having their new model line really helped with their image, I think. I think reimagining them with a slightly... those new models really do them a lot of justice, I think.
I'm going to take a wild guess and assume you voted for Farsight.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
My job was very easy, but... Kyrios made a video today that's like, choosing model of the year is so hard. It's like, yeah, it is.
I think if I had to kind of look at these and kind of balance them between a mix of cool aesthetic complexity while also still being kind of readable, I'm very fond of January's model.
Yeah, the Chaos Stormcast is great.
Yeah, no, I like that. The pose, the details, that out of all of these, it's difficult, but I think I'd lean towards the Chaos Stormcast. That is a nice one there.
Yeah.
I'd cast my vote, and I'm going to go a slightly out there direction. I voted for the Vansar Arachnorig.
I mean, yeah. Like, that's not mentioned in this sort of quick snapshot, but there are absolutely loads.
I just like, just because of how insanely, like, 80s anime sci-fi aesthetic it is. I just love it. It's like something you expect to see in something like Bubblegum Crisis or something like that.
That's completely understandable.
It's fucking great. I love it.
It's something that's nice about Warhammer in general, whether that be Sigmar or about 40k, is it's the melting pot of aesthetics that are all able to kind of mingle with each other. They're able to coexist. It's a really nice side of the setting. It's one of the main reasons that I still do kind of love the setting, even if I've kind of distanced myself from kind of interacting with the property in its more modern day. Like I love the way that everything in Warhammer looks. Like it's as much as we joke about the Tau thing, I really like every faction, even if it's just on a visual standpoint.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to that in case you had missed it. So yes, good luck with that one. I won't go into too much with the old world stuff as much as I really, really want to, because there's so much.
Oh my god! I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone's making using a combination of like Necron and Arachnirid parts to make like a cyber screamer killer. I fucking love that.
That is a fun conversion, actually. I like that a lot.
That is cool.
I like that. That is cool. I'll post a link in Twitter link in the video description for those who want to see it, along with the other models. So
absolutely.
But yeah, like robot screamer killer. That's awesome. We got the Amboss, so we can have these scream bots now. That's so cool. But yeah, as you say, we also got a whole bunch of old world stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think we don't really have time to go over the rules for every single thing this time around.
No, we don't. There's loads of really cool stuff and all that, but no, I will leave it. But yes. Oh, there was a Skaven star player for Blood Bowl, Skitter Stab Stab. I missed that.
Yes. And he is, of all the Skaven players, he is one of them of all time.
He is indeed.
He has got a nice done-out pose. Even he has got, like, well, it's not a tactical rock, it's a tactical...
shield, I think.
Yeah. Or wheel. It's a tactical something.
Skaven's all improv, isn't it? Let's cobble everything together, see what works.
Oh no, I'll tell you what it is. It's an ogre belly plate.
Ah, yes.
Well, this is not a rock. Give us something different.
It's something.
It's a tactical ogre belly plate.
Yeah, no,
say those words.
Yeah, that's an ogre plate. That's the little spiky bits in the middle. That's their symbol. That's the maw. Yeah. I think just the model in general looks really nice though. They say anything you want about Games Workshop, their flipping modeling always knocks it out of the park. Like I can't think of many bad models that have been released in the last 15 years.
No.
Although I imagine I could be corrected on that very quickly because there's always going to be bad fruit in the batch.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was one review someone did point out because the Necron Codex came out recently.
It did.
And people got hold of it. I'm trying to find a picture of it and I can't find it for the life of me. But there are actually some very, very small images of actual Necron tier in there, like pre-Necron. Necron tier.
Oh.
And they have massive chins. As to be expected.
You know what? Considering
I can't find it, but it was showed on Twitter somewhere. I'll try and find it if I can. And it was actually in the codex, like very briefly. So yeah.
I mean, considering the way that the Necrons themselves kind of look, I can see them having pretty big chins. Very pronounced.
Bruce Campbell's.
I don't know why. I was thinking more. I was thinking more like a Robbie Rotten for some reason. That's probably well past the how it would actually look.
Is it because they are number one?
Well, they were the first, weren't they? I mean,
yeah. Found it. There you go. Again, I'll post a link in the video, any Twitter link in the video description for those.
Oh, that's so blatantly the kind of Egyptian, chin ornament things that you'd see.
I tell you what, it reminded me more of though. You've seen the movie poster for Prometheus,
The poster for Prometheus? No, actually.
or the DVD cover.
Oh no, I haven't. All the Alien movies I've got are all part of a big anthology mix, where it just has the oh Christ, what the hell's the big telescope called? Why am I blanking on Alien?
Space Jockey?
Yeah, it's got that on the front, so I don't actually know what the Prometheus cover looks like.
Fair enough.
But oh, I see what you mean. Yes, the big
Big head.
Yeah. I see. I can see what you mean with that. That makes sense to me.
In fairness, like Giga-inspired Necrons would look really cool. Some proper biomechanical looking Necrons. That would be the shit.
Yeah. It would be neat if more kind of works of fiction recognize that if they're going to go for something that's Giga-like, it's not just it's not just make the alien again. Because I feel like the initial response to saying like there should be more Giga-like stuff in 40k is, hey, look at all the Tyranids. But there are more kind of elements to his work that can be implemented. It would be like if you were like, oh, I made a Salvador Dali inspired thing. It's like, cool, these are just the melting clocks. Like he did other things. Like, you know, there's more that defines his style. But
I mean, like, yeah, because like if you imagine something for like in 40k that was based off of like you know the game Scorn?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I do. That takes.
I'll post an image for you, Neve. But say stuff like that.
Hmm.
So imagine if like
God.
Necrons had an aesthetic like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, like that's not that far from some of the artwork of the Emperor on the Golden Throne.
Yeah, that is true.
Especially the old Rogue Trader art of it, yeah.
A lot of the biomechanical elements of it. No, Scorn. I remember being one of those games that some people would try and play, and they'd go, "Ugh, icky." But to some in a good way. In other cases, it'd be a thing where it was like an obstacle to them. But better than Agony at least. Agony took things too far for a lot of people, and also it was falling apart at the seams anyway. So.
Basically, to play it was agony.
Yes, kind of.
So at least delivered on what advertised.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not many games that are able to perfectly describe their experiences with their title, other than maybe Dead Island because no one cares about it anymore. You know, reception, this hubbub discussion about that is dead. But that's.
God, I forgot about that game. To be honest,
A lot of people did. Oh my god, not as much as they tried, but. Yeah, the early Emperor art is kind of badass. Like I like the Golden Throne Emperor. I've become very accustomed to seeing it because of TTS. But there are lots of interpretations about how the Emperor looks and everything, and what the Golden Throne really is. That is very cool.
I do have a soft spot for Giga Emperor as opposed to Blanchitsu Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I'm very used to Blanchitsu, but. That's the thing. It's a broad universe. There's lots of ways of interpreting it. I like the say what you will about Dawn of War 3, and say as much as you like about Astartes. The inspirations they have that they take from a very particular artist from Poland. They do some incredible stuff with that. I wouldn't mind if any of the Warhammer settings kind of pull more from that kind of surrealist imagery. Especially when you're looking into like immaterial warpy stuff, Xenos from like the outer edges of the galaxy. There's a lot that you can do with Warhammer, which Games Workshop does try to do. That's been the main difference I've found with them in the last sort of 6-7 years, is they do take risks, which is nice.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, bit of a derailing. If there's any more topics you want to talk about, you are more than welcome to. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, it's fine. It's nice when the show goes on tangents because it means we don't have to come up with more stuff to say.
Fair. So anything?
Tumbleweed.
I was gonna say, is there anything new coming up? Have we covered all the new releases, or is there just something else to sort of jump in with?
I think we've got the news now.
All right, that's fair enough. Is there anything that's been? Yeah. Sorry.
So Rem finished Ending the Death Part. You didn't finish Ending the Death Part 2, did you?
I have finished it now.
Right.
So we can talk about the second half.
So let's do that.
Right. So everyone consider this your spoiler warning. I'll try and get it all done within the next 15 minutes so Thunder can hear it before he has to shoot. So yeah, entering the spoiler room in 3, 2, 1. Let Cody Rhodes finish his damn story anyway. So we'll catch up first with Loken, who was being chased by Samus previously. So Samus is chasing Loken through the bowels of the Vengeful Spirit. Loken cuts his way through like a hatch, slides down through this chute of water, ends up plummeting down into a big pool, starts climbing like, right, I've escaped him. And then all of a sudden Samus like emerges from the water behind and starts scaling the shield wall after him and is like, oh, for fuck's sake. Running up top, running across the pipe, slices at the pipe with his chainsaw just to weaken it. Samus walks across it, falls down. Haha, fuck you. Loken walks off into another hatch, into another corridor, and he's being attacked by invisible Samus this time. He's just gone there because demon, of course you can ignore the laws of physics, it's demons. Loken gets the shit kicked out of him by Samus, which I think is the only time that Samus actually proved to be any sort of threat. Ha ha. And he starts taunting Loken, literally by ripping a hole in the side of the ship and shoving Loken's face in and goes, look at the state of the world, look at your species fighting over a fucking rock. You're all stupid. So, no, we're not stupid. We got the human spirit, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're all stupid. No, we're not. Yes, you are. No, we're not. And then we're going to fight again. Bum, bum, bum. I'm using Rubio's Force Sword now. Slicey, slicey, slicey. And then, before he ends up killing Samus or banishing his physical body, Samus reveals that, yeah, you can never win a physical battle against Chaos. You can only win in the Immaterium. Thanks for the advice. Slice. Right. That's Samus banished. Oh, wait. Now that he's banished, his power, which is holding, that hole in the ship in place, bang, explosive decompression. Well, shit. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the ship, Abaddon, who I forgot to mention last time, because Abaddon and a whole bunch of Sons of Horus following him. Right, we need to get back on the Vengeful Spirit. Spirit? We need to get back on the Vengeful Spirit. I'm Sean Connery. They end up getting on a Thunderhawk, or is it Stormhawk, whatever. One of the two, anyway. They get on, then Abaddon goes, hang on, something's not right. I'm going to get off. They get off, and they're already on the Vengeful Spirit, and the Thunderhawk is now a Lunar Wolves Thunderhawk. It's like, ooh, spooky. But they hear a bang. It's like, oh, explosive decompression. Everyone hang on. Shadow comes down. There, we're fine now. That seemed absolutely pointless. But it wasn't pointless because we immediately cut back to Kirill Cinderman's lot, because previously, as they were in the library, Kirill Cinderman and an archivist and someone else, they found a book in the library detailing about stuff from the warp, and one of them is the Book of Samus. And as the archivist was reading through the book, the words she was saying from the book were literally the same words Samus was saying to Loken at that point in time. And Cinderman's like, stop reading it. I can't stop reading it. Grabs the book. Yeet. Oh, sorry about that. No problem. They hear a door close behind them and something heavy, like very heavy, like, Space Marine footsteps. They run down and it's like, oh, Loken, you're back. I'm not Loken. Oh no, who are you? Hi, I'm Azek Ahriman.
What?
Yeah, Ahriman just showed up in the library. He's like, hi there. I'm here to nick all the books I can before everyone starts burning shit because, we've already won, so yeah, I don't want to have all the shit, but I want to read it, so thanks. You're quite scary in your power armor. Oh, sorry about that. And literally, it's like with Iron Man's suit, his armor just folds up, revealing him just in the robe going, is that better? So his body's like elongated, he's like got black gums, glowing eyes, like, am I less scary now?
No.
Yes, you're less scary, even though I'm literally shitting myself right now. Great. Now I'm going to start reading all these books. Thank you. What books were you reading? I'll just take all the information from your mind.
God.
And, yeah.
Ahriman.
And they're having a conversation, and someone mentions about the Dark King, which everyone presumed to be Horus. And Ahriman's like, wait, where did you hear about this Dark King? Oh, all your fellow traitors were chanting it. He gets out his tarot cards. Flip, 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 flip. Oh. What do you mean, oh? Yeah, there was prophecy, yet Horus was meant to be the Dark King, but he's not.
Oh.
Oh,
That's
who's the
awkward.
Dark King? Who's the Dark King? The Emperor.
Wow. Oh, man.
The prophecy has been inverted. The Emperor's now the Dark King. Dun, dun, dun.
What?
I'm not that surprised, given some of the shit that was done in his name, you know? But,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Gonna jump to Sanguinius briefly. Not gonna do the whole fight, just briefly. But you know last time he met Ferrus Manus?
Mm-hmm.
It turns out it actually was Ferrus Manus. It was a spirit. How is he able to be there? Because Horus willed it, because the warp is so infused in the ship, he can literally just pull Ferrus Manus' soul out of the warp and use him to torment Sanguinius.
As you do.
Incredible.
Yeah. And Sanguinius is like, so how do I get to Horus? Oh, I'll lead you to him. Follow me. But we've already been this way. Yes, but the laws of physics and geometry, the geometry's changed and the clocks have stopped. There's a callback. Thank you.
The comments had you on toast for that.
It's because it's fucking true, though.
See, the comments I actually quite liked it. Or my favourite was geometry changed, clocks stopped, Remleiz pissed.
Oh, no. The clocks go back in 40k still? Christ. You can't escape
They just stopped completely.
You can't escape daylight savings time.
Nah. But Sanguinius like, I've already been this way. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The warp has corrupted geometry. So what Ferrus Manus does, he grabs the shadows, he rips open the shadows. This shouldn't be surprising to anyone, because considering that, Ferrus Manus can catch a las cannon beam and crush it.
Oh, that's back.
Oh, right.
That's back, yeah. Right, Horus is through there. Oh, by the way, we're all waiting for you to kick his ass. Who's we? Well, there's me, and you got the spirits of your fallen brothers. There's Angron, and Mortarion, and Magnus, and Alfarius. We're all waiting for you to kick his ass.
So everyone wants Horus out.
It's basically, it's the essences of what's left of them. Basically, their souls, essentially. And I say the souls because, remember, Angron had his head exploded by Sanguinius. Mortarion had his head cut off by Jagatai Khan. Magnus got beaten the fuck to death by Vulcan. And Alfarius got his head cut off by Rogal Dorn.
This is all true.
Yeah. So there you go. More proof to reaffirm the case that Alfarius is indeed dead. Stop asking.
But what if, though?
So, but what if, though?
What if, though? What if it was another ruse?
It's the third Alpha Legion Primarch, Sigmar.
Ugh, get in the bin.
All right, sweet. Horned Rat and 40k when?
It's funny you say that, because Queethel actually got name dropped in Death Part 1.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
Yeah, the Skaven Demon Prince. Yeah, he was mentioned. He was name dropped, yeah.
Powerful. Okay. Wait a second. I think... was I here for this? Because I remember you talking about...
You might have been.
I remember you talking about Ending and Death, when I was on in, was it March? April? Yeah. Okay.
That was Part 1, yeah. This is Part 2.
This is a very odd way to kind of wrap things up.
What are the odds?
I know, right? That is fascinating. But yeah.
It is fascinating. So yeah, we'll jump to Elanius Pius and co. They're following this ball of twine that was left from last time. They're following it. They're going to places that they haven't actually been yet, but the twine's already there. It's like, this twine's been left by us, even though we haven't been here yet. Let's follow it. It's our clue, because what's the ancient Greek word for a ball of twine? It is clue. That's where the term comes from.
Oh.
Yes, and it's a call back to the whole labyrinth of the Minotaur as well. Because that was Elanius Pius' story.
Apparently.
True fact. He was also Jason of the Argonauts.
Oh yes.
I'm not even kidding. He actually was Jason of the Argonauts.
I think I remember us talking about this as well, at least in some capacity.
So they're following the ball of twine, and they end up in this ruined medieval village. It starts raining. It's like, how do we get here? We don't know. Hey, does it feel like you're being watched? Yeah, it does feel like we're being watched. Who's that up there? Hi, I'm Erebus. I want my knife back. Oh, fuck.
Oh, God, here we go again.
Yep. Erebus bodies most of Elanius's crew because
As you should,
Space
he's
Marine
an
against
Erebus.
regular humans. Yep. The only member of the crew who actually have any chance against him are Litu, the prototype Space Marine, who doesn't have any weapons, and, more amusingly, the agricultural servitor. It literally starts going like, punch, 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 punch. and Erebus is only forced to block because, it's a servitor, so it's got, more powerful thrust, because it can lift up, several ton loads in one go.
Yeah, servitors hit hard even if they don't have much of a brain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Erebus, beats the shit out of them. Kill, right, you're dead. Smacks John Grammaticus in the mouth, breaks his jaw, knocks him off the edge of a cliff. Erebus picks him up, like, sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Speak up, with his ruined mouth. So John does what any smitten person does, and stabs Erebus in the ear with a pair of scissors. John gets dropped. Elanius and John get picked up by Litu, who yanks him off. Acte, who, as you may remember, is actually Cyrene Valantian, she starts using her psychic powers to... In fact, she starts charging up a Kamehameha. Or a Spirit Bomb. Actually, Spirit Bomb is probably more accurate.
Oh, I didn't realise she was Keith Lee.
Don't you forget about Keith. Anyway, she starts charging up a Spirit Bomb. Erebus is trying to, force her way towards her. It's like walking through a gale. And as soon as he's about to swing his Crozius, big boom blows up everything in the vicinity. Everyone's dead except for Litu, John, and Elanius. Well, fuck. Yeah, we're all fucked.
Yeah.
Making our way through the remainder of the ruins again. Oh, we found this big truck full of weapons. And Elanius is like, oh, there's enough weapons for all of her. There's
Never
enough
mind.
weapons. It's
Yeah, there's only 3 of you
they're all
left now.
just standard shoot las guns. Yeah. And it's quite funny because they talk about how the trigger guard for the las guns, because it's built into part of the frame rather than being separately attached, Litu can't actually get his finger in to fire the trigger because his fingers are too big. And he can't actually rip it off without damaging the actual body of the rifle as well. So it's oh fuck. So he has to use a small bit of metal to pull the trigger with. It's quite amusing, but unfortunately, I think it's time for you to shoot off now, Thunder, judging from the time.
I'm afraid so, yes. I can't join you for the entire podcast, but since I'm a very busy man, I'm afraid. But it's been wonderful to be with you for at least a chunk of it. So,
And it's been good to chat and discuss it all with you.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, it's fun to be on these. I have a good time pretty much every time. So, yeah, thank you very much for having me on the show. Do you mind if I quickly plug the other podcasts I do just to...
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet. So if you want to hear more from me in this kind of format, because I do stuff on YouTube on my own, just on the main channel, it's just called ThunderPsyker on YouTube. I'm mainly covering Dawn of War, but I'm looking to kind of branch out into other games as well.
Links to the WD.
Yeah, but if you're looking for other things to listen to, I have 2 podcasts on my second channel called ThunderPsyker. One of which is The List Goes On, which is about a series of games that I've played with Ash, a good friend of mine. We recently covered Total War Warhammer 3, and it's been a very fun discussion with her. I mentioned a bit earlier. But we also have Return to Sender, which might have familiar guests to you on the podcast like Dr. White on it as well. That one's more of a freeform discussion. We talk about just about anything that's either video game or tabletop hobby related. And it's a very good time all round. So if you want to give those a look, that'd be greatly appreciated. And in the meantime, though, please enjoy the rest of the podcast here. Remleiz and Neve have been wonderful hosts once again. And I look forward to more from you. So take care, the both of you.
You too. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye.
Peace. And then there were 2.
And then there were 2. So yeah. As they're gathering their weapons, they can hear this commotion in the distance. What's that noise? Oh, it's a bunch of traitor Imperial army who are running, screaming like crazed madmen. Shoot, 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 shoot. There's far too many. We can't get out. We better run. Oh shit, there's actual word bearers mixed in as well. Yeah, we better fucking run. Because, we can't stay and fight all of them by ourselves. They try and run, they get cornered, they end up fighting through them again. But as they're fighting, Loken joins in the fight. It's like, who are you? Shut up and take this sword and start fighting. Okie dokie. Hack, 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 hack. And they fight their way to safety into like the ruins of this old church. Because, ruined medieval village and all that. So, who are you? I'm Garviel Loken. Oh, you're a son of Horus. No, I'm a lunar wolf. Because, fuck sons of Horus, fuck my dad. No, I'm the lunar wolf.
Yeah, the sons of Horus are traitors, the lunar wolves are not.
Yeah. Meanwhile, because this all ties into the same scene, Abaddon and his guys, they're like marching through the vengeful spirit, and they also end up in the same medieval village going, what the fuck is going on? How the hell did we get here? Because, the geometry's changed, haha. I'll try and not make as many references to that, as long as the book tries. Anyway. They end up being swamped by the traitor army and the word bearers because they're all running from something shit scared. They're so scared of what's coming that they're willing to fight their way through their own allies. And then they start bodying the word bearers, bodying the traitor army, and be like, we're going to run out of bullets. Then Erebus climbs up at the end of the cliff, like, hi, I survived. Abaddon sees him and goes, you. This is all your fault. It's like, you did it. It's like, no, you didn't. No. I gave you the idea. You carried it out. It's your fault too. It's like, eh. And Erebus just goes, ahem, and everyone stops. All the word bearers stop. All the traitor army stops. Like, haha, you tried to brute force. I did it with just one word, which means I'm better than you. Shut
and
up,
you
Erebus.
know it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get the OJF reference in there.
Yeah. Because what were the word bearers and what were the traitor army running from? They were running from the Dark King. It's the Emperor and the charcoal remains of the custodies that he was controlling in the last episode. Literally just this huge swirling ball of fire just slowly walking through. Elanius, Loken, Litu, and John Asius are like, oh, fuck, that's him, isn't it? Yep. You're going to try and talk to him, aren't you, Elanius? Yep.
It's not going to work, is it, Elanius? Nope.
Yep. And Elanius walks up to the Emperor at this point, because the Emperor stops, because the Emperor recognizes him, and doesn't stop out of affection, just stops because, oh, I didn't expect to see you here. How you been? Kind of thing.
Yeah, the Emperor's got time to stop a massacre on the Vengeful Spirit to go, hi, Elanius. Surprised to see you here. You keeping well? How's the wife? Dead. Oh. And how are you? Can't die. Oh. That's nice.
And Elanius sees all the custodians that were tethered to the Emperor psychically, they've literally just been burnt to charred corpses. They're all the custodians are dead. Except one which is basically close to death. It's just a charcoaled, still living corpse hello, my name's Dusk. My king speaks through me. And the only reason he's still alive is because he had the sigil of Malkador etched into his chest. That's literally the only reason he's still alive.
Right.
Just plot convenience.
Plot convenience, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And Elanius starts talking to the Emperor, who's using Dusk to effectively act as his proxy to talk for him.
Because he can't be bothered to talk for himself.
Yeah. Essentially, Elanius goes into what can best be described as a Steven Universe-esque speech of you're better than this, you don't need to do this, kind of thing. It's I'm just thinking, fucking hell, we're really going to go the power of friendship route? Really? We were going to do this? Okay. But basically saying you say you hated gods, but now you stand on the precipice of becoming an actual god. You're becoming everything you ever hated. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I need this power to defeat Horus. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't.
Well, okay, let's. I appreciate the argument that the Emperor and they're having here, because I'm going to ask you to just pause there. Does the Emperor need that power boost to defeat Horus? Yes or no? Because Horus has had a massive power boost off Molech, but that's the same power boost the Emperor got off Molech all that time ago. So did the Emperor need a further power boost to combat chaosified, Molechified Horus, or not?
The Emperor believed he did. I'll say that now. He believed he did.
Fair enough.
But basically, Elanius ends up convincing him, you don't need to do this, you're better than this. I need to stop chaos. Yes, we need to stop chaos. but you can't do this if you can't do it if you're doing this because you will become a chaos god. Well, it doesn't not become a chaos god, but you'll become a god and you'll be no better than them. Blah blah blah.
Which is true, because that's exactly
Power
what goes on to
friendship,
happen.
Steven Universe, you can't do this. You can be true to yourself. It's like, shut up.
Well, to be fair, everything they're saying is completely true. Like,
Yeah, but it does come across as very, very whiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But eventually, Elenas does sway the Emperor. The Emperor expels the excess power from his own being, or as Malcador calls it, a child star. Hint, hint.
Nudge, nudge. That's very on the fucking nose, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah. The power shone like a child star. It's like, subtle references.
Well, I suppose it confirms Star Child is canon.
Well, yeah.
Well, we knew already from, I am aware, obviously, in Dawn of Fire 4, I've forgotten its fucking name again.
Wolf Time.
No, one after that.
Throne of Light?
Yes, Throne of Light. In Throne of Light, it confirms the Star Child is something that people believe to be a thing in the 42nd millennium, but its validity and canonicity is always, people believe in it. Is it a thing? Whereas, and there was that a little bit, but yeah. So yeah, just nice to have it fully locked in that the Star Child is A, a thing, and B, not an accident. I think that's the interesting thing, because people always thought the Star Child was like a manifestation of the Emperor's soul within the Warport, an offshoot of the Emperor's psyche out of the Golden Throne, or whatever it was. I forget the exact details, but knowing the Emperor created it, albeit potentially by accident, is interesting to have confirmed. That's what I'll say.
But yeah. As the Emperor expels all that energy, it creates like a huge shockwave across not just Vengeful Spear, but also Terror itself. Huge shockwave. To which a whole bunch of people are like, the fuck was that? kind of thing. Like, Sigismund hears it and he's like, did you hear that? Yeah. Sounds like the Emperor was calling for help. Huh. And as it happens, the shockwave ends up healing not only the Custodian, not only Leto, not only John Grammaticus, but also Elanius Pius, and also restores their war gear to pristine condition as well. It's like, hey, we've all been healed. Yay. Right, let's all go get Chorus's ass. Not you two, referring to John and Elanius. It's like, what do you mean not us? Well, you won't survive this, this fight because I need some strong soldiers, which is why I'm having 2 spacemen and a Custodian with me. They will actually survive the journey. You won't. Even though Elanius Pius is a perpetual, but hey.
He hasn't lost... Hasn't he lost his perpetuality? Has he got it back?
I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't keep track of whether he's got it or not.
I know John Grammaticus lost his perpetuality.
Yeah, I knew that one, but Elanius I couldn't remember.
Yeah. But the Emperor goes, no. I got a special mission for you two. What? You know that ball of twine? Yeah. You know how the twine was already, spun, before you actually spun it? Yeah. You need to complete the circle. Literally. Oh, for fuck's sake. So we need to go and spin the twine so they can find it in the past to get to this point.
Oh, he's not locking them in a fucking time loop, is he?
No, but they already are in a time paradox because of the warp. So it's like, you need to go and complete this so your past self can get to this point in the first place.
So they're literally writing Elanius and Grammaticus out of the plot by saying, they're stuck in a time paradox.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Which goes on to further reinforce the idea that Elanius' role in the story this time around is going to be taken by Garvey or Loken. Which, in fairness, I'm all for because, it helps bookend his story.
Yeah, I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor. It's such an iconic and important line that it kind of needed to come full circle.
Yeah, so that's one retcon I am all for because it makes total sense in the context of this new story. So, what else was there? Basilio is still creating his weapon. Hasn't been made yet. What else was there? I suppose it's just going back to Sanguinius, really. Fafnir Rand still fighting people. It was a Dominion Zephon still fighting people. Maximus Thane ended up fighting like a giant goat monster that came out of a small cupboard. And killing an Imperial Fist. Like, sorry about that. Oh well. It was so inconsequential, you could have cut that entire chapter out, and now nothing would fucking change. Because we know Maximus Thane survives the story because he was in The Beast Arises.
Yes.
So, completely inconsequential. The Sanguinius fight with Horus. Guess who wins?
And wins by a landslide, I suspect.
Not quite. It's closer than we expected. Mainly because Sanguinius is using his speed to keep doing lots of hit and run, like, ping, 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 like death by 1,000 cuts type thing. Horus is swinging, world break, he's missing, huge heavy swings, boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to a point where Sanguinius ends up doing a strike across Horus's gorget, ends up cutting his cheek, and that really pisses Horus off. He's like, "Roar! I smash you now," kind of thing.
See, I'm getting flashes of God of War Ragnarok there, of like Heimdall, of like overwhelming from all angles, and then suddenly you land the hit. It's like, you actually hit me. No one has hit me. You are going down, sunshine.
Slight tangent. Have you played the DLC for it, Valhalla?
I've seen the cutscenes and things. I don't actually own the game. I don't even own a PS5. But no, I am aware of what happens.
Fair enough. But before the fight even took place, like Horus, he offers Sanguinius place both sides, like, no or not. And Horus is like, pity. With one single tear rolling down his cheek, he's like, I'm sad now. I have no choice but to kill you. Horus is slowly tiring Sanguinius out, however. Like, he ends up actually grabbing one of his feathers from his wings. Like, I got a little feather. Yeah, you're slowing down. Then Sanguinius ends up slicing Horus's belly open. It's like, yay, I win. And Horus is like, the fuck you have? I'm going to actually try now. And it's like he's not playing anymore. He just goes, right, I'm taking this seriously now. And just absolutely bodies him. And at the end, he picks Sanguinius up. Literally, like, that scene in the Avengers where Hulk grabs, Loki by the leg and it's like smash, smash, smash.
Yeah.
There's literally a scene like that. He grabs him and goes smash, smash. And then at the end, he picks Sanguinius up by the neck with the talon. He squeezes, snap, drop, flop.
Dead.
Clean that up. The end.
Yeah. We knew Horus was winning. We knew he had to be in decent shape to fight the Emperor and give the Emperor critical wounds. So we knew he was going to beat Sanguinius handily. But
I said it was closer than expected because Sanguinius did appear to have the upper hand for a little while.
It's also worth noting that this is not a fair fight. Like, forget Horus's power boost. Sanguinius has been fighting non-stop on Terra for how long was the siege? Weeks? Months, yeah. And he pretty much hadn't stopped. He'd banished Kabanda and Angron, like, that morning. So...
Not to mention the fact that Angron had mortally wounded him earlier in the day as well.
And that. So Sanguinius was running on fumes. So let's give Sang credit that he actually lasted more than 2 seconds with fully powered Horus. That just tells you, A, adrenaline, and B, Primarch physiology. And C, Sanguinius is a fucking badass.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention about Rogal Dorn. Sorry. After the Emperor, did his little shockwave, Rogal Dorn's in this little desert goes like, oh, sounds like someone just called for help. I'm going to continue writing on this little brick wall. Oh, one of the bricks is loose. Push, push, rip the wall down. I'm free, haha, I'm Rogal Dorn.
The wall's down.
Yes, Rogal Dorn is Chris Jericho. Come on, baby. He ends up in the medieval village shortly after the Emperor had left, so he's only just missed him.
Right.
And he's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of dead bodies here.
Follow the bodies.
There's a whole bunch of dead Imperial fists. Huh. Oh, I can hear someone moving under the rubble. Move the rubble, move the rubble, move the rubble. Who are you? Hi, I'm Acte. You may remember me as Cyrene Valantian. Kind of thing. Cyrene Valantian is Troy McClure. R.I.P. Phil Hartman. Anyway.
So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this now because you obviously have a better sense of context. Did The End and the Death need to be 3 books? Now you've read 2 of them. No.
Absolutely fucking not.
Okay. Obviously, I know there's a lot of story pods that need wrapping up, but which plots do you cut to get it down to 2? Because it's got to be 2. There's no way you can do it in 1. So, what do you cut?
Well, in this book alone, you can cut the opening 2 chapters, like the one set on Ulfway and the one set on Mars. You can cut them out completely. Because, literally, aside from name-dropping the name of the fucking book in chapter 1, there was no point of it existing, in my opinion. The same with Kelbohar going, like, I'm going to scream now because the clocks have stopped. So, for fuck's sake, just get rid of that as well. I would say cut the Basilio Foe stuff, but then again, it seems to be building up for something that's going to happen in book 3.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard to know, because obviously there's only certain plot threads that have paid off, and the Sang story has to stay.
The Sang story has to stay.
The Emperor storyline has to stay. Could you cut the Abaddon stuff?
To a lesser extent, the Rogal Dorn stuff had to stay as well, because he was already described as being on the Vengeful Spirit, so you need to explain where was he. And I kind of same with Abaddon, purely on the basis that he was described as tearing the talon of Horus from Horus's corpse at the end of it, so you need to explain how he got into the Vengeful Spirit in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you cut the Grammaticus Pius story? No.
No.
Unless you can't cut Loken.
No, but you can cut the Maximus Fane stuff. You can cut that, because it seems to have little bearing on the plot. You can cut... I'd say you could probably cut the Vulcan stuff, because if you want to know why I didn't mention Vulcan, because he does fuck all in this book, so you can probably cut that, apart from the bit where, where he and John Grammaticus actually meet in that, and he says, like, oh, take him away and throw him in the dungeon, kind of thing. Keep that, obviously, but again, I think that was actually at the end of the first book, so you probably don't really need that as well. You could at a pinch, you could probably cut away the Khalid Hassan stuff and maybe the Kirill Cinnamon stuff.
Mm.
You needed the Kirill Cinnamon stuff in the first book, because that explains how Loken got onto the Vengeful Spirit in the first place. But you could probably cut out of this book, potentially, if you want to have like an abridged version. But ultimately, one thing you need to cut out all the repetitious shit about saying how the geometry's changed and the clocks have stopped. I know I keep saying it, but they keep saying it as well. That's why I keep saying it. Just, like, we don't need to be reminded of this. I said this last episode. We don't need to be reminded 2 to 3 times a chapter. Like,
is it that
once
bad?
a chapter's... It wasn't... In the earlier parts of the book, it was that bad.
God.
Again, like, the entire Kelbor Hull chapter, chapter 2, the entire point of that chapter was to say, the clocks have stopped. That's literally the entire point of that chapter. Again, you can cut that entire chapter out of the book and nothing would change.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of them of, I wouldn't want to be Dan Abnett. I wouldn't. I don't want his job, because writing the final chapters of the Horus Heresy is fucking hard. Especially when you've got 50 books of potential plot threads, and particularly 7 books of prior set up plot threads to pay off. And I remember us saying, actually, why is it 8 books in the Siege of Terror series? It's not. It is actually 10. It was the last one's actually a 3-parter.
It's actually 13 if you include the novellas.
We don't count novellas in terms of the overall chronology of a series.
No, but you kind of need... At the very least, you needed the Wrath of Magnus one, because that explains context for what Magnus is doing.
It's extra context, but it's not plot critical. It's context.
Well, it kind of was in regards to the whole Vulcan-Magnus plot thread in... Was it Echoes of Eternity? It was kind of needed.
Right, okay. But yeah,
Sons of the Solar you can skip, nothing would change. And the Garrow one you could skip, even though you shouldn't, because the Garrow one is awesome.
Yeah, you shouldn't skip it.
Awesome.
But that's the thing with novellas, is they're great to read, but not critical in terms of understanding the overarching plot. Like, what
I'd say the Magnus one was, but that's the outlier.
Yeah. What the Siege of Terror had to do was get us from Pluto to the Vengeful Spirit. Its job was to tell the story of the battle for Terra and the key incidents within, i.e. the breaking of the walls, the attack on Lionsgate Spaceport, the battle between Sanguinius and Commander, and everything of importance on the Vengeful Spirit with Sanguinius' death, the death of the Horus, the death of the Emperor, and the return to Terra. That's what it had to do. And I understand. The problem is it's got 50 books-ish to pay off, many of which have set up for this moment. So they've actually had to coalesce together 50 books of plot threads that have not been tied up into 8 books, but actually 7 books to set them up for the final payoff in the last one. So in reality, the End and the Death had to do all the heavy lifting. And considering how, even with all the things you said you take out, would that get it down to 2 books? Probably not.
Oh, for something else you can take out as well. You can take out the Constantine Valdor stuff in this book, potentially, because literally every chapter with Constantine Valdor is just, we're fighting demons, we've been fighting for 40 seconds, 42 seconds, 43 seconds. It's literally just that over and over and over again. You could probably cut that out completely, because, like, or literally it's just cut most of it out. You're just like, where is he? He's fighting demons. Okay, we know where he is. That's it. We don't need to keep be reminded about him.
Yeah.
So that's like another 3 or 4 chapters you can cut out straight away.
Yeah, but realistically, getting it down to 2 books, I think, would have been extremely...
The problem with this, with the End of the Death in general, is because I believe it was originally intended as 2 books, because that's what it was first announced as. But I think late down the line, when Dabnett was reading or writing the first one, I think a edict came down from GW up higher up saying, no, let's make it a 3-parter because we can make more money off this cash cow. And then Dan was forced to, like, pad, because this is something I've been saying since the first book. There is so much fucking padding in End of the Death. Book 1, there was a lot of padding. Book 2, there was a lot of padding. And I dread to think how much padding is going to be in Book 3, to be honest.
I really hope that there isn't padding much, because I think there's so much...
Another bit you can cut out. The Loyalist Admiral plotline, you can cut her out. You know, the one who's basically hiding with the Phalanx and all that. You can cut that out because she has no bearing in this book whatsoever. She has like an entire chapter saying like, we're here, we're hiding behind Pluto, waiting to evacuate the Emperor at a moment's notice, and someone's playing with tarot cards, and oh look, the clocks have stopped.
I do.
But you can cut that out completely, and again, nothing would change in the overall grand scheme of things in this book.
Yeah, but I can also see the argument of like how many actual plot threads needed paying off that had been set up throughout the series, and that I think if you're Dan Abnett or you're the writing team, you're aware that you're not probably going to write another Horus Heresy book after this. Apart from maybe some shorts and novellas or like character series books now, I suspect they'll want this to be the bookend. So when you've got this as the bookend, especially if it ends on the same line it started on, it's a proper bookend. I know the understanding of you want to pay off everything that you've set up. And you don't want the fans going, well, what about this thing that was set up in Echoes of Eternity? What about this that was in the Solar War? What about this that was in...
Well, what they could do, potentially in that case, they could pick like maybe 1 or 2 plot threads, like, right, we're going to cut these out of the book, of the novels, the final novels completely, but they're too important to ignore, so what we'll do, we'll get someone else to write a novella to wrap that up. Kind of like what they did with the Garrow stuff.
Yeah, but those have got to come out before End and the Death does. Because again, you're trying to...
they can come out in between, potentially, because like End of the Part 1...
No, as in before, at least before End of the Death 3, is what I mean. Before the last book hit shelves, everything must be wrapped up. When End of the... I'm working under the way that I want this to be. It's like, End and the Death 3 is the bookend. Like, chronologically, that's it. Right. We're done. And I feel like that's probably what GW wants it to be, and what probably the team would want it to be. Like, this is the end and the death. So pay it all off and finish it there. Leave a few things hanging about where does this leave the Imperium now? Sure. But don't leave it to the point where people are going to go, what about X? What about Y? What about Z? And leave people with a sour taste. Like, my favourite character or my particular thing I was really curious about because I'm interested in this niche bit of lore didn't get paid off. And I think because they want to make such an effort to pay everything off, set everything up, I can understand why there's what feels like padding. Like, for example, that whole thing about the phalanx to evacuate the Emperor at a moment's notice. Like, do they actually get off the Vengeful Spirit by teleport, or do they get picked up? I don't actually know. I'm assuming they teleport away, but
I don't think it was actually explicitly stated how, to my
yeah,
knowledge.
so they're setting up this is how the Emperor's going to get out, because the Vengeful Spirit's still a fucking mess, especially if it's about to explode or whatever, or the shields are down and whatever, and no one knows what's going on. Having the Phalanx come in, swoop in and evacuate the Emperor and Dorn back to Terra, or have them teleport to the Phalanx rather than back to Terra, because no one knows if the palace is safe and Malkador's power's going out of control and they can't trust they can teleport back to the throne room. But at the
same time, you could also turn around and say, like, oh, they just get into a dropper or just commandeer some Thunderhawks, because there's a whole bay full of them, apparently, so potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. And
there are ways you can work around it.
But I don't envy Abnett having to do all those things. Like, that's such a hard job, and there'll be even if we aren't putting pressure on him, but I feel like many of us are, whether we mean to or not, he will be really feeling the pressure, or have felt the pressure around, oh God, I have to nail this. This has to be good.
Yeah, but unfortunately these last two books haven't, in my opinion. As far as the Siege of Terra series goes, these two books are on the weaker side so far. Which is same like the book that has the big apocalyptic climax between Horus and Sanguinius, and it's one of the weaker books in the series. That's not a good sign.
But that's a padding problem, because the fight between Horus and Sanguinius, by its very nature as a setup for the Emperor fight, cannot last very long. So I feel like what they could have tried
potentially done. Oh, sorry. My
No,
was cutting out. I don't mean to keep cutting it out. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
What they could have potentially done, they could have arrived at the Vengeful Spirit. They could have potentially skipped over the Sanguinius fight scene completely and just have the Emperor turn up on the bridge, seeing Horus over the dead body of Sanguinius, and then, for people who want to see how that fight turned out, turn the Sanguinius Horus fight into a novella.
No, that would cause outrage.
Potentially.
The other way to do it is to do what you did, but make the Sanguinius fight a flashback sequence. Like,
that could work as well.
Have it like the Emperor arrives on the bridge, sees the body of Sanguinius, and suddenly his mind is overwhelmed by the psychic shockwave of Sanguinius' death that he feels, and he sees what happened to Sanguinius in real time, almost like he's going through a black rage coma. Like, that could have been a way to do it, but I feel like if you're wanting to do it, I think they needed to have the last book not have the Sang fight in it, unless it were like a flashback sequence. So the book before the ending on the Sang fight, is good. But did the End in the Death Part 1 have to be the End in the Death Part 1? Could it have not been a separate novel which sets everything up, gets everyone on the ship, and then the End of the Death Part 1 is everything, and is just what happened on the boat? Because a lot of the End of the Death Part 1 is in the throne room, on Terra, or getting everybody into position. That could have been a novel in and of itself to get everyone into position and have it be ready now.
You could have 3 separate novels, one called like The Beginning, The End, The Death.
Yeah. It's just, when a book runs to 3 parts, that implies it's monstrously overfilled.
It is.
I think, to be honest, I don't think we'd be having this conversation if this was the End in the Death Part 1. Like, there was a novel which was all about the send-off to Malkador, getting everybody into position, getting Loken on the boat, getting the Emperor on the boat, maybe have a fight scene on the boat just to end it. Just feel like they arrive and suddenly it begins. Yeah. And then cut to the End of the Death Part 1 follows 4 plot lines. Like, you've done all your setup in your previous book. You've moved the Phalanx into position. You've set up Malkador. You've done all that in the previous book. Or even done it through a couple of novellas, if you had to. Like, have it like, the last goodbye or the long goodbye, which is setting Malkador up on the throne or whatever. I don't know how you want to do it. But once have the end and the death be the vengeful spirit and nothing else. Follow those 4 main plot lines, which is Loken, John Grammaticus, Sanguinius, and the Emperor in book 1. And then have book 2 follow Abaddon, Dorn, the Emperor, and Loken. Because you need to get Abaddon into position, but he's not that important right now. He's just in position. His payoff is in the next book. So don't touch him. Just have him show up as a cameo. But it was like, okay, we knew he was on the boat because we talked about it in the previous novel. We know he's here. He's got a little cameo here to show, okay, he's involved in all this too. And then we just move over him and he becomes a central player in part 2. I know that this is... I'm trying to tell Dan Abnett how to do his goddamn job. No, I'm not trying to tell Dan Abnett how to do his goddamn job. But it's one of them of when you have to make it a 3-parter, that tells you your book is too long. I suppose is what I'm saying. If a book has 3 parts, that book is too long.
Yeah. And again, I think it was just a last-minute mandate from Games Workshop, make it a 3-part, because, again, it was initially announced as a 2-parter.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
as
doing the Sang...
there's too much material for 2 books, but not enough for 3.
Yeah, I think the Sang fight being a novella would have caused uproar. But a Malkador-themed novella, which is all about him making the last choices and choosing to take the throne and watching the power go out of control. Let it end with Malkador in torment as the power goes out of control, as the Emperor phases away, and then it finishes on him, and then maybe the epilogue is set in the palace while it's all kicking off, and then maybe end it on an ominous, like a transmission. It's over, as Malkador evaporates into dust. Like, have it be Malkador's goodbye. Because the end of the death part 3 has got to deal with Horus's death, the Emperor's death, Malkador's death, the establishment of the New World Order, and probably the arrival of Guilliman and the ascent of Abaddon. That's a lot to tie up.
Oh, I forgot another plot line. There was another plot line I actually forgot to mention. The Causewaying plot line. It shows you how important that one was, but I completely fucking forgot it. And them trying to get the Astronomicon back online. But yeah, you can probably cut that as well, to be honest. And like I say, change.
There's a whole...
I completely forgot about it.
Yeah. There's a novella there on Terra as it all goes to shit. There's a novella of the Trials of Dawn. So you can take him out of the end of the Death Part 2 and have a novella like the Trials of Rogal Dorn as he's brought onto the Vengeful Spirit, scattered around, and forced to reconcile who and what he is and what he has done, almost... we talked about earlier, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla style, fighting his own demons to make peace with what he's done, fighting with Demon Perturabo, a shadow of Perturabo, as a way to get him off the map. Because I know Perturabo took his ball and went home, but you know what I mean.
Or more thematically appropriate, fighting an echo of Alfarius, considering he killed Alfarius, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, I think you could have taken Dawn out and made him a novella now, and then that sets him up for book 3, or book 2 of this retcon as I'm writing in my head, which is the final payoff. And each book follows 4 plot lines. Part 1, Sanguinius to Horus, the Emperor to the door, Loken to wherever he is, because we don't want to make it too obvious that he's going to be in the same fight, but he will be, and then Elanius Pius to sort his plot thread out, and John Grammaticus sort them out. And then book 2 is the Emperor and Horus. That's like the first third of the book. Don't even cut from it. Just to have it, all that happens, because that's all anyone cares about. This is the fight to end all fights. And then part 2 is the race to the throne. Like, everyone knows this fight's going on. So we cut in. Maybe you've got one chapter or maybe you do Loken first to get him to the throne room for 2 chapters. Then the fight. Loken gets a final chapter where he closes his arc and dies. or gets in the way and bleeds out as the fight ends. And then your final saga picks up with the race of Abaddon and Dorn to secure their father's bodies and get them out of there and establish the world order. And the book ends with, this is the Macrag's honor as the vengeful spirit warps out. That I'm not saying that will be better than what Dan Abnett's going to do, because Dan is like one of the best authors I've ever seen. But if you just want to tidy up the bloat that you have identified as being a thing, would that make sense? Would that work, or am I just waffling?
No, it could work. Again, just because it's hard to actually trim it down, because you need to know exactly what to trim down and where, because again, we don't know what's exactly going to be plot relevant in the next book, so we don't know, should we actually cut this out completely, should we not, kind of thing. Or should we just, like, trim it, that sort of thing. It's hard to tell for certain until we get the third book, I feel, currently. But I think what you did suggest could actually work. Yeah,
it's hard. Obviously, we don't have the context of part 3 in this conversation.
Exactly. We haven't got the gift of hindsight yet.
No. Right. Okay, so I'm afraid to say, ladies and gentlemen, that as much as we very much enjoyed banging on about the end of the death, we have slightly run out of time. So we're going to wrap it up there, because there weren't that many questions on the previous episode. So we'll probably roll them into the next one. If you did leave one, just copy paste it across, and we will get to it next time, I suspect, because, well, the end of the death is rather time consuming, as I'm sure you've gathered if you skipped the spoilers section. So
the next episode, we'll try and turn it into a QA special like we did a couple episodes back as well, when we didn't get a chance to answer questions last time. So until then, we would like to also wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I was going to say Happy New Year, but we still got another episode before Happy New Year. So
it won't be, the next episode won't be out before the New Year, though. So, by the time you see the next one, it will be 2024. So Happy New Year for that, even though we're recording it before the New Year. Fucking schedules are complicated, all right? Just take it.
We'll mention it then. But anyway, until next time, we'd also like to thank ThunderPsyker for joining us this episode. It was a shame he had to leave early, but
all the links are in the
busy boy. Exactly. So until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories,
and this has been me from Tactica Imperialis. And I was going to try and do a thunder voice to sign him off, but no, I can't do a thunder voice. So yes, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.